Hey guys, welcome to my Introduction to Mental Training course, Session 1, Emotion. All you're going to need for this session is a nice, quiet, peaceful spot where you're not going to be disturbed by anybody, and a notebook, and something to write with. Let's get into it. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes for me, sit back, relax, and we're going to take 5 deep breaths together. So I want you to breathe in through your nose, hold that breath, and breathe out. And again, in through your nose, hold at the top, and breathe out. And in, and out. And in, and out. And in, and out. Keep your eyes closed, and I'm going to ask you a question. Now keep your eyes closed and listen to my voice. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to really think about this question, about how you're going to answer it. If you could go back in time to a game or a competition that you've played or competed in the past in your sport, and relive that experience, not change anything, but just live it again, what game or competition are you choosing and why? My game is a game that I played a long time ago. I was playing in England at the time, and it's funny because this game wasn't the best game that I played individually. It wasn't the game that I played that mattered the most or was played at the highest level, but it's a game that I will always remember and I will always cherish because of how difficult it was. It was the week after I played one of the worst games of my life that culminated in me missing a penalty in a shootout that cost my team the chance to win a cup. And I felt so horrible after that miss. And a week later, I was playing in a league game, and I played the first half, and I played terribly. And I even missed a golden opportunity to score and get my team back in the game. We were losing 1-0, and I sat in the locker room at halftime for 15 minutes, with my head down, knowing that all my teammates, or at least thinking that all my teammates, were thinking, if only Christo had scored that chance, we'd be back in this game. And I felt so many emotions going through me, but the one that I felt more than anything else was anger. I felt angry at myself, angry at my teammates, my coach, the opponents, and angry at myself. And I walked back out onto the field in the second half, and that anger was just flowing through me. And I played an incredible 45 minutes against a really tough team. Gave an assist scored the winning goal, where I felt like I picked up the ball, drove past a few players, and almost willed my shot to just get in the back of the net. And celebrated by running over to the touchline and kissing my then girlfriend, who's now my wife. But while I was playing, I just felt that anger coursing through me, and it made me feel so powerful. And one of the most incredible things I've ever experienced. And I would love to live that second half again, knowing that, if I had to relive the whole game, I would have to endure that first half and feel terrible about myself. But I'd do it to get to that second half and feel that power and play that well, because it was an incredible experience. So now I want you to open your eyes, and if you need to keep thinking, that's fine. You can pause the video, but I want you to think of the game that you would relive, and I want you to write down some notes about it in your notebook. If you want to pause the video, that's fine. And then you can start the video once you have some notes written down, once you know what game you would like to play in and why. So now that you've written some stuff down in your notebook, I'm going to ask you another question. But before I do, again, I want you to close your eyes. Just take one deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I want you to imagine you're there playing that game. I want you to imagine all the things, all the reasons that you would want to play it again, to experience it again. And more important than anything else, I want you to remember how you felt as you played that game. Did you feel happy, confident? Did you feel calm and in control? Did you feel excited? Or maybe, like me, you felt angry, powerful. How did you feel as you were playing that game? What made that game so special? And again, you can open your eyes, and if you want to write some notes down to kind of rediscover how you felt in that game, that's fine. You can pause the video and do that. And then we're going to move on to the next section. So hopefully by now you've thought of that emotion that you were feeling as you played that incredible game that you would want to go back and relive. And whatever that emotion is, whether it's happiness, excitement, anger, that feeling of being powerful, that feeling of confidence maybe, we're going to come up with 5 things. Now, 5 strategies to help you to channel that emotion, and then we're going to talk about how to use them as well. So number 1, I want you to think of a song that makes you feel that emotion. So if it's happiness, a song that makes you feel happy. If it's excitement, a song that makes you feel excited. For me, it's anger, so I picked a song that makes me feel angry and powerful. And that song is Al Dente by Bloody Hawk. It's a Greek rap song, so you probably haven't heard of it, haven't listened to it. I'll play a quick clip right now. But yeah, that's the song that I've picked. Okay, so come up with your song. Pause the video if you need more time to do that, and then we're going to go again to the next strategy. The next thing that I want you to come up with is a moment that makes you feel that same emotion. So just like with the song, if your emotion was happy, I want you to come up with a moment that makes you feel happy. Preferably this moment will be related to your sport, so you playing your sport, or maybe walking out onto the field for a game if your emotion is excitement, and maybe if it's happy, it's you scoring a great goal and celebrating with your teammates or something like that. For me, obviously my emotion is anger. And my moment actually isn't from the game that I was just telling you about a couple minutes ago. It's from a different game. And even though I played primarily as an attacking player, it's from a defensive play that I made. A really, really hard but fair tackle where I took this guy out. I got the ball first, but it was a very, very aggressive tackle. And I remember standing up after the tackle and just feeling that anger and that feeling of being powerful. And so that's my moment. Now, once you have that moment, obviously if you still need a little bit of time, that's fine. You can pause the video and keep thinking. But once you have that moment, I want you to close your eyes for a second, and I want you to imagine that moment happening. Whatever it was, I want you to feel that emotion. For me, I can feel myself going to ground and putting in that tackle. I can feel myself standing up and seeing my opponent on the floor and just feeling strong and powerful. And open your eyes. All right, the next thing that I want you to come up with is some sort of quote that also makes you feel that emotion. Now, this doesn't have to be a quote that some famous person said, doesn't have to be a famous quote or anything like that. It can just be something that a coach has said to you. So if your emotion is happiness, maybe after you made a great play, your coach, you heard him say or her say, "Well done" from the sideline, or cheering you on or clapping for you or something like that. It could be something one of your parents has said to you after a game or before a game that makes you feel happy or excited, whatever that emotion is for you. For me, there was a moment in a training session where I was having an awful session, and my coach was a little bit crazy, but he was a great coach. And for the whole session, he was kind of being sarcastic towards me. So I was making a lot of mistakes, and every time I would make a mistake, he would be saying something like, "Great job, Christo." If the ball was coming, someone passed to me, and the ball was coming to me, he would say something like, "Oh, here we go again." And it was making me feel really, 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 really bad, and really frustrated. So in the scrimmage, I make one more really bad mistake, and the coach actually runs out onto the field and gets right in my face. He says, "What are you doing, Christo? Do you even want to be a footballer?" And something in me snapped, and I got right back in his face, and I said, "Yes, I f***ing do." And so for me, that is the quote that I think about. Do you even want to be a footballer? That makes me feel that same anger sometimes that I felt in that moment. And the funny thing is, after he said that to me, and I swore at him, he turned and he walked away. And the next time I got the ball in the scrimmage, I spun a defender and scored an incredible goal. It makes me think that that's actually what the coach was trying to do, was get that anger out of me, because he thought it would make me play better. And that's kind of what we're trying to do with this session here. 2 more strategies. The next thing that I want you to do is take that quote that you just came up with and shorten it into 1 or 2 words that elicit that same emotion. So I'll give you an example. I had an athlete whose quote was, "You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take." And she shortened that to 1 word, which was grit. And that was kind of what the quote made her feel. And her emotion was actually determination, and that word grit kind of, when she said that word to herself, made her feel that feeling of determination. Now, if your quote is already really short, then you might not need to shorten it, but 1, 2, maybe 3 words max, so that you can say just something really, really quick to yourself that makes you feel that same emotion that we've been trying to find ways to channel this whole activity, basically. All right, so pause the video, think of how you can shorten that quote into 1, 2, or 3 words maximum, and then we'll get on to the last strategy. The last strategy is, I want you to think of a way that you could act out that emotion that we've been trying to channel. So for example, if your emotion is happiness, you could smile. If your emotion is confidence, you could stand up tall, puff out your chest. My emotion is anger, so you could just make a face that I might make if I was really, really angry. So now we have those 5 strategies. We have the song, we have the moment, we have the quote, we have the word or short phrase, and we have the action or expression. So how do we use these things to channel that emotion, to make you feel that same way you were feeling when you played that game that you would like to relive? Because that's what we're going to do. And it's actually really, really simple. What we're going to do is, on your car ride to your next game, or maybe your bus ride if you travel with your team, the last song you listen to is going to be that song that we're using to channel that emotion. Then, after you listen to that song, hopefully you time it so that's, you have a couple minutes left in the car, or maybe you've already arrived at the field, you listen to that song. And once that song finishes, I want you to close your eyes, and you're going to imagine that moment that we're going to use to channel that emotion as well. And then you're going to open your eyes, and you're going to say out loud, if possible, that quote that also makes you feel that emotion. So that once you walk out of that car or that bus, you're already feeling happy or excited or confident or proud or angry, whatever that emotion that we're trying to get out of you is. You're already feeling that way before the game. Now, if you've arrived at the field and you still have an hour or maybe even longer than that before kickoff, you can do that routine again, once or twice or even 3 times in that hour, to keep channeling that emotion, so that when you go to warm up or you go out on the field to start the game, you're feeling that emotion that is going to make you play your best. You see, the reason that you have such fond memories of that game that we keep talking about, that game that you would like to go back in time and relive, is because while you were playing that game, you were likely in the flow state. Now, I'm sure that you've heard people talk about the flow state and how it relates to sports and how it's going to make you play your best, but I wanted to bring it up here because there's a couple things that people get wrong when they talk about it. First, I think that a lot of people think that the flow state feels the same for everyone, when I actually think that for each specific athlete, the flow state is linked to a specific emotion that they feel when they're playing their best. So that's why we're trying to channel that emotion for you. The second thing that people get wrong when they talk about the flow state is thinking that the hard part is getting in the flow state, when I actually think the hard part is staying there. I think that almost all serious athletes can achieve a flow state for 5-10 minutes in a game here and there, but then they make a mistake, or maybe they don't get the ball for a while. Something happens that takes them out of that flow state, and then it's really, really hard for them to get back into that flow state. This is why we have the last 2 strategies that you're going to use on the field while you're playing to get back into the flow state quickly whenever something pulls you out of it. Let's say you're playing in a game and you're doing great, really dialed in, and you really feel like you're in that flow state. But then all of a sudden you make a mistake or something happens and it pulls you out of that flow state. What you're going to do is close your eyes, take a deep breath, open your eyes, and say that word or short phrase. So it might be something like grit, like I talked about in the example I gave earlier. And that word or phrase is going to refocus you and get you back in the flow state. If that doesn't work, what I want you to do is just act like you're feeling that emotion that is linked to your flow state. So if I'm playing, I might act angry. I might look around at everyone playing on the field with an angry expression on my face. If your emotion is happiness, you might just make yourself smile. If your emotion is maybe confidence, you might just puff out your chest, stand up nice and tall, and act confident. And that's going to make you feel confident and bring you back into the flow state. So that's your new game day routine. What you're going to do is you're going to listen to that song, you're going to think about that moment, tell yourself that quote to get you in the mood before you play. And then while you're playing, you have those two strategies, the word or short phrase, and then the action or the expression that will help you remain or get back into the flow state. I hope that you've enjoyed this activity. I think that if you use these tips, you will start playing better in your games and be more consistent. Remember that you don't necessarily need to use all 5 of these strategies. If one of them doesn't work for you, toss it out and just do the other 4. Some of my athletes use 2 or 3, maybe even 1, but I guarantee that if you try out these tips, at least one of them will help you get into the flow state and play your best game ever.